I am going to tell you a story tonight that I have told in pieces across many lectures. I have told the beginning in one place, the middle in another, the outcome in a third. I have never sat down and told it whole, from the moment I walked into Abdullah's room to the moment I stepped off the boat in Barbados, with money in my pocket and my family on the dock. Tonight I am telling it whole, because when you hear it complete, not as an illustration of a principle, but as the thing that actually happened, in the sequence it happened, you will understand something about the law that no explanation I have ever given has conveyed as clearly. The explanation tells you what the law is. The story shows you what it looks like when it works on a man who did not fully believe it was going to. Stay with me. It was 1933, New York City. The Depression had the country in its grip, and I had been in America for 11 years, long enough that the life I had left in Barbados had begun to feel like something from another time. My family, the island, the particular quality of that light and that air that you carry with you forever once you have known it. I wanted to go home, not as a vague wish, with everything in me, the kind of wanting that sits in the chest and does not leave, that is there when you wake in the morning and still there when you try to sleep. I wanted to see my family. I wanted to be, for a time, in the place where I had come from. And I had nothing. No money for a ticket, no means of getting any, no connection that could produce what I needed. By every practical accounting of my circumstances, the trip was what every account of the situation confirmed. Not difficult, not unlikely, impossible. I went to Abdullah and told him what I wanted. I told him about the money I did not have, the ticket I could not afford, the gap between where I was and where I wanted to be, measured in dollars I did not possess, and a ship I had no way to board. He listened to all of it, the whole account of impossibility, and then he said something that if I had not spent years studying with this man, if I had not watched him be right too many times to dismiss what he said, I would have taken as evidence that he had not been listening at all. He said, "You are in Barbados." I want to tell you what that felt like in the moment. Not the feeling of a teaching being applied, the feeling of being refused the conversation I had come to have. I had arrived with a problem carefully articulated, with the evidence fully assembled, with the expectation that we would work through it together, and he had simply declined to engage with any of it. Not, "You will go to Barbados," not, "Imagine going to Barbados," not, "Let us discuss how you might get there." You are in Barbados, present tense, current fact, settled and done. I began to object. The money, I said, the ticket, I said, the circumstances of my situation, which were the circumstances, real and present, and not going to rearrange themselves because a teacher in Harlem had stated their opposite. And he looked at me and said, "I said you are in Barbados. Good night, Neville." And he shut the door. I stood in the hallway for a moment. Nothing had changed. The money was still absent. The ticket was still unpurchased. The island was still thousands of miles away. And I made a decision, not a comfortable decision, not a decision made from certainty or from the confident occupation of the law. I am not going to tell you it was easy. It was not belief that carried me home. It was the exhaustion of arguing with a man who had never once been wrong, and the decision made in a hallway that I had run out of reasons not to try. I chose to believe the teacher over the facts. I went home, and I did what Abdullah had told me to do. Not hours of elaborate visualization, not a formal practice sustained through extraordinary effort. Simply this: I stopped locating myself in New York, in my inner life, in the conversations I had with myself in the unguarded moments, in the place I stood in consciousness when I was not thinking about the practice. I was in Barbados, not hoping to get there, not working toward getting there, there. The tropical air that I knew from childhood, the particular sound of my family's voices, the specific feeling of being in a place that was simply without question, home. I held it not as a desire, but as a fact, the kind that does not require maintenance or verification, the kind that simply is, the way the floor beneath your feet simply is, not because you are remembering to believe in it, but because it is the ground you are standing on.
Within days, not weeks, not months, not after an extended period of sustained spiritual practice, within days, a letter arrived from my brother Victor.
Inside was $50, and a note that said, "I want the whole family together for Christmas. Here is money for whatever you need. I have notified the shipping company that you will come for a ticket." I know what you are thinking. The letter would have come anyway. A brother who happened to write at the right time. A fortunate coincidence. 11 years had passed without it. I went to the shipping company. No first-class cabins were available, only third class. I held the assumption, not dramatically, not through heroic effort, but with the quiet persistence of someone who knew where they were going. Days later they called. A cancellation. A first-class cabin had opened. I sailed to Barbados, first class, with money in my pocket, to the family I had not seen in years. Now, before I draw the principle from this story, I need to address the conclusion the reasonable mind will immediately reach. Because if you draw it, the story becomes evidence against the teaching rather than for it. The reasonable mind will say, that was coincidence, a fortunate series of events, a brother who happened to write, a cancellation that happened to open a cabin. It was none of those things. What it was, precisely, mechanically, without mystery, was the bridge of incidence, the series of events that forms between the genuinely occupied assumption and its appearance in visible form. Not engineered by me, not produced by any action I took to make it happen, produced by a consciousness that had changed, that had moved from the state of someone trying to get to Barbados to the state of someone who was already there, and to which the visible world, which has no mechanism for remaining inconsistent with the consciousness observing it, simply caught up. The brother's letter, the $50, the ticket, the cancellation, the first-class cabin. None of these were coincidences. They were the bridge, forming through channels I could not have constructed, through the actions of people who did not know they were part of anything, through the precise sequence of events that a changed consciousness produces when it has genuinely moved into the state of the wish fulfilled. This is what the law actually looks like when it works. Not dramatic, not miraculous in the conventional sense, simply the visible world rearranging itself around a consciousness that had moved, the way water finds the shape of whatever vessel it is poured into, not because of any effort the water makes, but because that is the nature of the relationship between consciousness and the world it inhabits. That is what happened to me. And the structure of what happened to me is not unique to me. I know you have a Barbados. Something you want with your whole heart, that what the visible world shows, says, is impossible. Not difficult. What every account of your situation confirms cannot happen. The money is not there. The means are not there. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is real and specific and measured in things you can see and count and hold in your hands as evidence of the impossibility. I am not going to tell you to ignore the evidence. The evidence is what it is, but the evidence is the past made visible. The consciousness is the future being written. You are not being asked to change the circumstances. You are being asked to change the state from which you are observing them. Not to hope you will get to Barbados, to be there, in your inner life, in your unguarded moments, in the ground from which your thinking arises, while what appears is still what it is. Every tradition that has examined this seriously has arrived at the same place. The person who acts from a desired identity rather than toward a desired outcome reaches what the person reaching from the outside never reaches. Not through effort or deservingness, because the inner state is the cause, and the outer world is always the effect. Abdullah did not tell me I would get there. He told me I was already there, and I did not believe him, not fully, not with the certainty he occupied when he said it. I believed him enough to try. I stood in the hallway and chose the man over the evidence. And the evidence changed. Not because I forced it, not because I deserved it, or because some external power decided to be generous. Because consciousness had moved, and the world, which is nothing more than consciousness made visible, moved with it. You are already there. The only question that has ever mattered in this teaching is whether you will occupy it,